Did you know that Easter Monday is a Christian holiday celebrated the day after Easter Sunday? Before, it was celebrated as Easter week in many places, but this was reduced to a one-day celebration in the 19th century. In many countries, in Europe and South America, today is known as Little Easter, while the Catholic Church calls it Monday of the Angel. Hello and welcome to this Easter Monday edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry.
Today, we read from Matthew 5:43 to 48. Under the day say Moses did write say, love on the neighbor and hate on the enemy. But this is what may I say, love on the enemy them and pray for the people them where treat on the bad and make on suffer. When you do that, you will come in just like on the Father where they are heaven. You see how we make the sun rise up and shine upon wicked people and good people? And the same so he make rain fall upon people where do a right in him yai and the one them when you listen what him say. After all, if you no uncle love the people them will love you, what you no go get out of that? And if no uncle tell for no people them how they, and what you know what I do so when nobody else no do? Down to the wrong door them do that. Not true. So hear me now. Una no fi uncle good sometime and uncle to some people. Nobody no fi have nothing bad for say about uno. Tan just like uno Father when in heaven. Him good all the while to everybody. And nobody can say nothing bad about him and attack truth. Matthew 5:43 to 48.
Easter is a time of reflection and renewal. Gardens, whether public or private, are spaces where individuals go to find peace and be one with nature. So let's take a journey to find out more about the historical, cultural, and scientific values of some of Jamaica's public gardens.
We're here in St. Thomas at one of the oldest botanical gardens in the Western Hemisphere, the Bath Botanical Gardens. This is the beginning of a journey to discover the scientific, cultural and historical value of public gardens. Come now, let's explore these national and natural treasures. So what differentiates a public garden from a regular place where flowers and trees grow?
A public garden is an institution where plants are collected for the purpose of education, research, conservation, and recreation.
Along with Bath, there are 3 other public gardens on the island. Castleton in St. Mary and Hope and Syncona Gardens, both in St. Andrew. The public can access these venues at no cost. Today, we'll be exploring Bath and Castleton. Except for Hope Gardens, the Public Gardens Division of the Ministry of Agriculture, Commerce, Industry and Fisheries, MICAF, preserves and maintains these natural beauties.
The objective then of the public garden is to conserve the biodiversity of plant life in the island. So we are here to ensure that the plants are maintained, they are conserved, they are preserved, that research is conducted on them so that generations and generations will have that area.
Bath Botanical Garden was the first public garden established on the island. As a research site, imported plants were introduced here to assess how they would adapt to the tropical environment.
Food that Jamaicans love, like breadfruit, was first introduced to this garden by Captain Bligh. He came here with the breadfruit, the Ackee and OTT apple, those are the famous ones. Other plants were introduced to the garden that people see all the time, the bougainvilleas, the crotons, all of these were first introduced to the gardens.
Constant flooding from the nearby sulfuric spring destroyed many of the plants and led to a decline of the garden. Though nowhere near its former glory, the space still provides the opportunity for persons to come and enjoy nature's bounty.
Bath is a beautiful garden. It's one of the gardens that has the atmosphere that you come in here. It's a cool, calming environment that I would encourage anybody to come. If you want to study, you can come here and study. If you want to just come out with your church group, want to come out with any little grouping, or even yourself and a friend can come and walk and learn about the different plants that are in the garden.
Bath's fall saw the rise of this location as the premier growing spot for exotic plants in Jamaica.
The garden you're visiting is Castleton Botanical Garden. It was owned by a man called Colonel Castle. Colonel Castle traveled all over the country and bring plants from different countries and plant here. So when he get old, he donated to the government of Jamaica. The government finished cultivate it and give it his name, Castleton Botanical Garden.
Growing here are many of the plants introduced on the island in the 19th and 20th century. These include poinciana, Bombay mango, navel orange, and tangerine.
One time it had over 400 palms. I think we're down to 180 species. So you have an area dedicated to the various palms that were introduced into the gardens. You also have rare fruits like mangosteen, and they have another one, the real velvet apple, that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
This is the Phoenix palm. When you knock it like this with a stone, it gives you sound. Why it gave you that sound? Because it's hollow inside. The more it grows old, the more it expands hollow.
Educational tours are just some of the offerings here at Castleton. But you can stop by for a swim if that's your thing. Perhaps a cookout is more your flavor. Or set up a spot on the lawn and bask in the glory of the great outdoors. Our expedition of the historic Bath and diverse Castleton Gardens ends here. Syncona and hope await, but in another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Until then, keep looking out.
Yes, walk right over there and drop it in the bin. Reuse that wastewater from your kitchen for the garden. Get your hands dirty and plant a tree. Farmers, hold off on the pesticides, especially near our rivers. Do your part to protect our watersheds so we can preserve the source of our drinking water. Every act to protect our watersheds counts. Start now.
Have you ever thought of growing your own fruits, vegetables, or plants? Maybe you're not sure how to do so, perhaps because of a lack of space. Well, don't be daunted. Our next feature will help you make your gardening dreams come true.
Urban gardening is the cultivation of vegetables, fruits, aromatic plants, and herbs in an enclosed space or your backyard. It's an ideal way for those with little space to participate in the process of food production, saving money while feeding themselves. Practical application is one of the best methods of imparting new knowledge. The Jamaica 4-H Clubs ran with that concept when it set up an urban garden display project at 123 Duke Street in downtown Kingston.
This project was born out of the COVID pandemic, where we recognize that food production has to become everybody's business. Traditionally, most of our food in Jamaica is cultivated in rural areas. We believe that even if you are in a dormitory community without land space, we believe that there's still an opportunity for you to produce. In this urban model, you would realize that we are demonstrating how you can do air planting, how you can do planting on your fence line, how you can produce food in different medium. And so we are utilizing a fully integrated approach from collecting your own water by generating your own nutrient within the urban garden model setting to be able to produce the food that you will eat.
There are a few vital things that plants need to grow. These include sunlight, proper temperature, moisture, air, and nutrients.
One of the basic pieces of technology inside our urban model garden is to demonstrate rainwater harvesting. From your roof, you're collecting your water, not only your roof, but just anywhere there's a runoff, because it could be a runoff underground. And what you want to do is to be able to have some storage capacity.
In the 4-H urban garden, the water is stored underground to ensure there is more available space on the surface. Of course, your environment will determine the most effective setup for your system.
One of the good things about Jamaica, other than when we have night, we always have sunlight. There are some plants that requires a lot more lighting than others. And so one of the things we demonstrate or we share with urban gardeners is where you put what. So there are some plants that you can do indoors. There are some plants that will strive and do better if they were to be grown outdoor, whether you're using container, you're using your fencing, you're using backyard, front yard, or your rooftop. Another feature that is demonstrated here is composting. To my right is our composting area, and we have a roto-composting bin, as well as we have a regular bin. And in fact, just about all the vegetative matter and the waste from the birds and the animals across there are in fact all placed into our composters, and that is broken down to provide organic matter. Because again, your soil needs that for aeration, it needs it to add humus, and that's what is going to allow your plants to grow well.
And all this can be done in your own space. Livestock is another avenue you can choose in your urban gardening. Rabbit rearing is an excellent source of protein, and it doesn't require much space. You can also use the plants in the garden to feed them. Other animals can be included, such as chicken and fish.
We do a lot of different birds here. You can do your ornamental fish, you can do your tilapia, and you can also do your domestic hens. Because that's something we are also promoting, is to get back to those domestic hens for eggs and meat. There are many things you can do in terms of livestock. It's almost as diverse as you're going for crops.
To replicate this model in your urban space, speak with your Jamaica 4-H Club's parish officer. You can receive seeds and other planting material to get you started.
One of the biggest threats right now in the world is not war or COVID, is really to have a sustainable supply of food. And the view is that no longer can we only rely on the traditional food producer. I think food production has to become everybody's business. And I think the extent to which we are able to get all our people to produce some of what you will consume, I think is one of the greatest steps we can take in looking at the phenomenon of food sustainability.
A strategy the Jamaica 4-H Society has started to aid in maintaining sustainable food within communities. And if you haven't begun the process in your space yet, you can start now.
Children are the future, and ensuring our future is healthy requires that children are always provided with nutritious foods to grow well and live long. Unhealthy diets high in sugar, salt, and fat consumed by children may make them obese and prone to non-communicable diseases later in life. Healthy foods and beverages not only help them learn better, but also protects them from non-communicable diseases such as some cancers, diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular diseases in their childhood and adult life. So, whether it's at home, in the lunch bag, or at school, let's make healthy foods and beverages for our children the only rule.
Fish of every kind, cooked in every way possible, fried, steamed, or roasted, is just one of the many meals associated with Easter. But did you know there's an agency to ensure regulations and the preservation of fish? Find out more in this feature.
Fishing, the simple act of casting a line with a bait in the hopes of catching a nibble from a fish, has been an essential aspect of human civilization since hunter-gatherer times, and is one of the few food production activities that have survived from prehistory to modern day. Today, it has evolved to become yet another source of income for many, including our own fisherfolk. But how is fisheries regulated? Enter Jamaica's National Fisheries Authority (NFA), an agency under the umbrella of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. The NFA is entrusted with overseeing, regulating, and preserving the fisheries industry while working to improve the fishermen's fishing experiences and incomes. A critical focus area of the NFA has been aquaculture. This is the breeding, growing, and harvesting of fish, shellfish, and aquatic plants, or the act of farming in water. This means our tilapia and oyster farmers are at the heart of Jamaica's aquaculture practice. In addition to regulating the sector and providing support, the NFA has also taken on the task of educating and encouraging Jamaicans about the benefits of tilapia farming as another approach to boosting local fish production and reducing stress on reef fish.
The reef fish, that is fish caught in the reefs in and around the Jamaica's shoreline, that population is decreasing. And our fishermen will tell you that when they go out, they have to go further and further out to get a decent crop of fish to sustain themselves. Tilapia has been grown in Jamaica since the 1940s. Its fortunes have ebbed and waned with time. And so here we are now trying to promote it, to push it, to get people to not only eat it, but to get people to also produce it.
As a result, the National Fisheries Authority has begun to employ different creative approaches to increase tilapia production and consumption. The upcoming cooking competition is one of those approaches which aims to highlight the different ways tilapia can be enjoyed. While the NFA continues working to expand aquaculture, effort is also being made to revitalize reef fishing. An initiative to train fishermen for pelagic or deep-sea fishing is part of that drive. A technique in which a fish aggregation device (FAD) is strategically placed to attract pelagic fish, allowing fishermen to fish beyond reefs, is also being explored as a more cost-effective method. The creation of fish sanctuaries has also been essential to the sustainability of our reef fish. Fish sanctuaries are no-fishing zones developed to conserve the bay's breeding grounds and fish habitats while progressively increasing the fish population in the neighboring regions.
We are seeking to develop production of shrimp, production of oysters, production of sea moss, or Irish moss as we call it here in Jamaica. And so there is a huge development towards the aquaculture industry because, as I said, the sea product is declining. Aquaculture is the saving grace, if you will, of Jamaica's fisheries endeavors because it is it has so much potential for growth and development.
And not only will aquaculture contribute to the improvement of fish habitats and the rebuilding of stocks of threatened or endangered species, it will also assist to feed the nation today and for the foreseeable future.
Brethren, the road signs make the traffic environment safe. The green light means go, red means stop, amber also means stop. Yeah man, it don't mean you must speed up. And get this, even if the light's on green, when the traffic is thick, don't bother move off and block the intersection. And please, don't stop on a pedestrian crossing. Look out for children, the disabled and the elderly. Follow the signs so they all can arrive alive. Be a good road user. Obey the road signs and look out for each other.
The sweet taste of honey is not only delicious, but a soothing balm for a scratchy throat. While there are many health benefits for consuming honey, as you'll find out, the cultivation of bees and the production of this golden nectar is serious business.
Apiculture is an art and it's a science. And it's an art and science of managing bees. So everything that we do in the hive, everything that is happening in the hive is very scientific. And as beekeepers, we craft the way how we manage the bees. So every beekeeper that you speak to, they will have a different approach to different aspects of beekeeping.
Given that the importation of honey into Jamaica is restricted, you can only imagine what big business beekeeping is for our farmers. They have expanded from just providing honey for citizens and have moved on to creating many different byproducts. But have you ever wondered how you can get involved and have your share of the sweetness?
For you to be a beekeeper, you have to develop certain comfort in dealing with this thing, which is not a maybe when you're a beekeeper in Jamaica. It is a must. So every time you get a sting, it becomes irritating to you. But then because we love what we're doing, we don't pay much attention to the irritating part. We're more focused on what we're doing, and we know that at the end of the day we're going to get honey. And when we get honey, we can convert that to money. So for us in St. Thomas, from time to time we have projects, and quite a few of the persons in St. Thomas who are beekeepers, they start out benefiting from projects that would have beekeeping component. So training is critical, because then you have to know how to navigate your way through an environment that is challenging to allow you to harvest honey and to make a livelihood from beekeeping. I would advise anybody who would like to make their own box to purchase a box to start with, or you borrow a properly made box, because the bees are very scientific. They're very specific in terms of the design of the space that they occupy. And if you make a mistake and where you're supposed to have 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, you put 1/2 inch, or you put less than 1/4 inch, then you're going to have problem as a beekeeper. So a beekeeper has to be knowledgeable about what is normal in the hive. So I tell people that when you come into the apiary, there's a normal sound, and if you listen, you hear a hum. When I hear that as a beekeeper, I know that they're finding food out there, they're finding nectar, they're finding pollen, and so on, when I hear this hum. When you go into the hive, there are many things in there that you have to observe. Right? You have to observe the condition of the comb, whether the combs are, I always said, old and crystallized, because once they get old and crystallized, you want to get rid of those combs. You want to look at the color of the brood. When we say the brood, we're talking about from the larval stage now to when they get to the pupal stage. You want to observe that, because there's a normal way that they should look, and there's an abnormal way when something is going wrong that they would look differently. You want to observe the queen and the condition of the queen as expressed in the amount of eggs that are laid, as expressed by the amount of seal brood that you see. Right? In the bee yard, you want to be observant of everything. I usually tell trainees that when you come into the bee yard or into the apiary, you have to look around at the trees and the shrubs around, because there might be a swarm that is lingering. That swarm might have taken place in your absence. Might even be the very morning before you come to the apiary. You have to observe and see if any of that is there, because if you let that swarm escape, then you're looking at some dollars and some of your profitability that is going down the drain. You want to be able to have a bee yard that is not necessarily sterile, but clean enough that if you have dead bees around, you can see them on the ground. If you have bees that have been affected by the varroa mite and they are suffering from viral attack, there's a virus that they call the wing curl virus. Those bees, when they reach the age and the stage to fly, they cannot fly because the wings are deformed. And so those bees, you will see them crawling on the ground, and they will crawl around on the ground until ants get them or until they die.
That's just the bare bones of what you need to learn about beekeeping. Do more research to increase your knowledge. But as you do, ask yourself this: am I registered with the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA?
It is of great importance for a farmer to become registered or get registered with RADA, because indirectly they assist us in making national plans. For example, when we are doing our national plan, knowing the demographics of the farmer, where they are, the type of production that they do, it allows us to pinpoint as to what projects or programs can be implemented. And also, if we should have disaster, diseases, we know where the concentration of farmers are located. Or once you come to the RADA office, you can either speak with myself, the livestock officer, or the extension officer, and we'll provide you basic information on what is needed, how you go about it. We also give you the other linkages, such as the apiculture unit at Borders, that you can contact for other information. We also do assessment. We assist you in doing site assessments of your apiaries, and also kind of hold your hand in terms of getting started. And if we have projects or programs and we can have you on that project or program, we also put you there. The advice that I give to beekeepers is to do your production in a manner that has a business-like approach. From my observation, many beekeepers think that having the bees they're just there. They don't really take the time out to assess their apiaries. Mr. McNeish mentioned about sanitation. They don't really look at that. So I say just manage your apiary, monitor your hives, keep your proper record so that you can have a good production.
Thank you so much for spending time with us this Easter Monday on Jamaica Magazine. Although the Lenten season ends today, continue to exercise patience in your daily activities for the rest of the year. Join us again tomorrow as we take you on another interesting journey. And until then, you can visit our website at jis.gov.jm for more. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Theodore Henry.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.